So, Momo is apparently aging rapidly based on what's stated in chapter 181 of Dandadan. We also have the return of Zuma, who's apparently going blind as well for some reason, along with a brief stint between the squad and Zuma himself. So, we have a lot to discuss, but of course, we're gonna start from the top. So the title of the chapter is Must Be the Influence of a Curse, which of course plays into the characters aging rapidly. Now the chapter picks up at the front of the school, and it appears that these students are getting harassed by these older teenagers. We then switch over to Okarun saying to Momo that he wonders if Seiko will take his training seriously. She then reassured him by saying that it will be fine since she also worked with Jiji. Though Okarun contests this by saying that that's because Jiji has natural talent, so it's worth teaching him. Which is true to some extent because Jiji has immense spiritual power, which is why Evil Eye took over his body in the first place. So does Okarun even have such innate prowess to warrant training his spiritual powers? Well, I believe that's the case of course, and you guys can watch this video on screen after you finish to find out why. Now, Okarun then recognizes the guys at the school gate, and Momo says that they're from Renjaku, which is of course Zuma's high school. The other students then overheard this and asked Okarun if he knows them, which he then replied to by saying, well, kind of. They then tell him that everyone is scared to leave because of them, so if he knows them, he should do something. So Okarun then heads over to the school gate, and you can hear the students in the background saying Okarun is going up to them. For real? Is Vamola going to be okay? Gee, Okarun is kind of awesome. And this kind of plays into the entire thing with Hase saying that Okarun has gotten way more popular in school, and I'm just glad bro isn't here to see this because if he was, he'd probably try to kill Okarun right there on the spot because this is crazy. But yeah, then goes over there and says, excuse me, you're in the way. And also adds that they're causing problems by being at the gate. Now, they didn't recognize him at first, so the big guy's like, say what, you little shit? While of course the other guy is trying to hit on poor innocent Vamola. But they did go on to recognize him because they're like, this guy has glasses, so he might be the guy we're looking for. That's when this weird guy walks up and says, yo, where's that tough chick? And this is really funny to me because when reading the chapter and this happened, I'm like, this guy looks familiar. And it somewhat reminded me of the guy from the Zuma arc that kinda looked like a more refined version of Kinta. I'm sure you guys remember who that guy was, but apparently this isn't him. So Okarun questions who is this guy, and even Momo says she has no idea. He then says, yo, it's me, see? I was in the hospital forever though, so my hair's grown out. He then removed the glasses and we can see that he is in fact Zuma, he just looks a tad bit different. So Aisa goes on to say that he's all fixed, but what's wrong with glasses? And the all fixed part is referring to the fact that he was badly damaged by being overused by the fairy tale card, so that's what she's referring to. He's then a tad bit confused about what's going on because he's hearing Momo's voice but he can't see where it's coming from because of course Momo is very tiny. So she's like, Zuma, I'm here, I'm right here, but he starts to panic for some reason saying that he's hearing voices, so Aisa just decides to jump kick him, which of course draws his attention. So it's like, whoa, you're little, what gives? And this part is a bit interesting, and I've seen some people complain about this saying that it's a plot hole because Zuma was standing there when Momo was pulled from the trunk, but I think it makes sense because it is pretty clear that he can't easily see Ayasa in this state, so the most likely case is that he only saw Turbo Granny exit the cursed trunk. And also, he was in the hospital the entire time, so it kinda lines up. But yeah, she goes on to tell him that she's little cause of a curse, which of course is tied to the fact that she consumed the treats from the cursed trunk. But she then notices that he isn't affected, even though he also consumed those treats from the cursed trunk as well, so she's a bit confused. He then goes on to say that he has been looking for Momo because of a curse. Ever since all that stuff happened, my eyes have gone bad. But more importantly, his name is Daiki, and he has been aging at an unnatural rate. Daiki of course being the same guy from the cursed trunk. He then goes on to say that his dad found Daiki's home and they went there together, but it has only been 4 years since Daiki disappeared, which of course was when he was a child, so he's now returning to his family as an old man, so they rejected him saying that it's ridiculous, that's not Daiki. They then remember that time goes way faster inside of the cursed trunk, so that explains why he's way older even though it has only been 4 years. He then goes on to say that all he did was get a present from his parent for his birthday and loved it. I mean, isn't that the saddest thing? Which is true, that is pretty sad. Like bro lost most of his life just because he got a present from his parents, the same parents that openly reject him today. So yeah, that's pretty crazy. But yeah, it goes on to say that he wants to do what he can to help him. But that's when the perspective shifts to Ira and Jiji. they notice the commotion going on, and the students tell them that there's a bunch of delinquents loitering at the gates, and Okarun went up to tell them off, but they've been there like that for ages. That's when Jiji notices Momo in the hands of Zuma, so it felt like she was being threatened. So he then rushed over to save her just as Momo was inviting Zuma over to her house. He then grabbed Momo from Zuma's hand, while Ira tried to restrain him using her powers. She then tried to kick this poor sap, not knowing if this guy really has powers, but he blocks it using the power of Umbrella Boy. She then says he's a power user, so Jiji just gives Momo to Okarun, telling him to look after her. Now Okarun is kinda panicking, telling them no, wait, stop, but Zuma and his friends are pretty pissed, so it is somewhat escalating quickly. So Jiji seems to be powering up and he says, who the hell are you? And we also have Ira in the yokai form saying how suspicious for a power user to appear right after Yokishiro was defeated. This of course referring to Koiki and the pygmies. So the fight then kicks off with one side saying, give that girl back, and the other side saying, she doesn't belong to you. And I'm here saying, where is Okarun and Momo? Like, what's going on here? But that's when all of a sudden they all get depowered back to their human forms and they're wondering what's going on. And we also have Vomola transforming into the kaiju state and jumping in front of Jiji, because of course Jiji isn't really in a yokai form, so she's just blocking him from attacking. But that's when it shows that Momo is using her powers to hold on to their auras and squeeze it, similar to what she used to do to Okarun to suppress Tobogranni's powers. She then goes on to say, you morons, we're all on the same side. And this is no place to be transforming, you dumbasses. Although I will say that no one can see them in these forms, though I guess it does depend on who around them is also spirit sensitive, because other people can of course see spirits, so it does make sense to be a bit more cautious. But yeah, she tells everyone to apologize to each other and everyone says sorry, so everything is good, and that's where the chapter ends. Now the reason why I said that Momo is also aging quickly is because everything is connected. The reason why Daiki seems to be 90 something years old, yet he was in the trunk for just 4 years, is because of the time dilation effect of the cursed trunk. So one could assume that the reason why Zuma's eyesight is going bad is due to the time effect of the cursed trunk as well. And not in the sense that Zuma is old so is now losing his eyesight, but more so that he was going to have this issue at a certain age and the trunk just sped up the process. And this makes perfect sense because Zuma was in hospital for like a few days or maybe 2 weeks, and he has a full head of hair for some reason. And hair doesn't grow that fast even though this is a fictional universe, so it does make sense that this could be a hint towards Zuma also aging quickly. This also takes us back to Daiki because when he left the trunk initially, he was way younger than he is currently, so it seems like he gained 20 years in just a few days, which implies that the effects of the cursed trunk is still continuing outside of the cursed trunk itself. So the same thing could be happening to Momo as well, and this is somewhat implied in the prior chapters where she said that her injuries healed right away too. She feels like $1,000,000, and she had crazy injuries as well, and they somehow healed very quickly. Why is that? Well, if Momo is aging quickly, of course she would also heal quickly too, so that could explain why she no longer has those injuries. Now it doesn't explain why Momo is small and everyone else isn't, because that's also an issue, so maybe something else happened that influenced that choice, but it could still be the case that she's also aging rapidly when it comes to her biological functions. Now of course the speed at which they age would be a bit different since Zuma was in there for like maybe a few days and Momo was in there for like maybe a day. And then Daiki of course was there for maybe 4 years. So this guy of course is aging way more rapidly than all of them, but they're still also aging as well. Now it could also be the case that they had different effects from consuming the food inside the cursed trunk. So Isa lost her height, Zuma is losing his vision, and Daiki lost his youth. So everyone sacrificed something for the food they consumed. Now of course I could be wrong, they could go any route they want to go, but these are just my theories on what I think is happening of course. With that said guys, that is it for the video. Let me know your thoughts down below, and also let me know your thoughts on the upcoming chapter, your predictions and so on and so forth. With that said again, I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.